بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Amma ba'd. So, brothers and sisters, we actually did the Seerah lecture already, but we had some difficulties with the recordings. So, I'm over here and we're going to do it again on a recording by myself. We got some brothers here listening as well. So, inshallah, this is going to be what's posted. I'm only going to go through the first half because the other half, actually, we did end up getting that recording from our last session, inshallah. So, what we're going to be talking about today is the Isra wal Miraj, and this is actually one of my favorite topics. It's one of my favorite because it really shows the miracles and shows one of the greatest gifts that came down to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's one of the greatest gifts, personal gifts that came, the greatest miracle that came down. Because when we look at the miracle, we look at the Quran, but that's the eternal miracle. We're looking at the miracle of the Isra wal Miraj, and this miracle is actually one that we are lucky to have it today. It was a gift specifically for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are even lucky to have it today, and it's so cool because you see so many ilm al-ghaib things over there. You see so many things that we don't know, and so many things of that afterworld. And us as humans are always wondering what's out there, what's over the outer space. We're always thinking about these things. What is heaven like? What is hellfire like? All these things. And when we look at the Isra wal Miraj, we see that we really get into this now. And I love this topic, inshallah. This is going to be our last seat of the quarter as well. This is our last seat. Sorry about that, guys, but this is our last seat of the quarter as well. We're going to continue winter. Getting crazy deja vu right now. But so we go through so the Prophet ﷺ went through so much hardships, such as the death of his wife Khadija. He went past the death of Abu Talib, and he also had the incident of Taif, right? And it was very hard times. The times were very tough, and he was really going through a lot. So this personal gift that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had was very good, right? Now, scholars say that Isra wal Miraj is the greatest personal miracle he has been given. This entire journey is a personal gift to Muhammad ﷺ, and we just hear about it. It's all a gift for him. And if you were to compile all the hadith of the Meccan era on one side, and you took out Isra wal Miraj, you took it out, so all the hadith of the Meccan era, and you took out Isra wal Miraj, and you compared the sizes, Isra wal Miraj is bigger than the Meccan hadiths that come, right? It's larger than the whole Meccan Seerah. Now, Isra, what does Isra mean? A lot of you have friends, sisters probably have friends by the name of Isra. It's a very common name. It means to travel at night. That's what it means. And now Isra means the travel that took place at night. The entire surah, which came now, is called Surah Isra, which talks about the great honor that was given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, we brothers have a lot of friends called Miraj. We might know a guy called Miraj. I have one on the top of my head right now. It means the instrument you use to rise up. And it's referenced in Surah Najm. This is where it's referenced. So the question which we want to go to first is, when did it happen and where did it happen, right? So it happened 1 year before the Hijrah. 1 year before he went on Hijrah to Medina. It happened because we have a big clue. Our big clue is that Aisha said, Khadija died before the Salah became fard. Khadija died before the Salah became fard. And it clearly shows that it occurred in the 1.5 to 1 year span before the Hijrah. And there's no opinions from the early scholars of the month that it took place either. The Prophet ﷺ got taken from his house to the Hatim, which is by the Kaaba. It's right by there. And Jibreel came down and opened his chest. Now we know that the Prophet ﷺ got his chest opened before, around when he was 4 years old. But this chest took a black slither out of his heart, which was cleansing his heart. This time, it's a cleansing that's getting him ready for the spiritual adventure in which he's going to take in the Isra wal Miraj. He's seeing things out of this world, the ilm al-ghaib. This is a washing of the hearts. Now, he got his heart washed twice in his life. This was the second time which he's gotten washed, right? Now, so he came down and he had a gold cup filled with it was filled with either Iman or Zamzam. And there's no difference either because the whole part of it was to cleanse his heart. Now, you can cleanse with Iman, you can cleanse with Zamzam, right? And this was, again, it was done once when he was 4 or 5. They took out the black spot. This time there was no black spot. And the thing is, if another man saw what the Prophet ﷺ had seen, they would have gone crazy, mad, just insane with the amount of things that he saw. We'll get into that as well. The next thing I want to talk about is Al-Buraq. Now, this is something that we just imagine. It's not one of those little Pegasuses with the wings that fly everywhere. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an animal that's smaller than a mule but bigger than a donkey. That's the animal. Smaller than a mule and bigger than a donkey. And was pure white, and its name was Al-Buraq. And it came from the roots of lightning. That's what it came from, because it was very fast. Every single place where its hoof would land, It's as if that's where it would go. So as far as the eye can see, is where its hoof would land. So in like 2 seconds, it probably take like 10 steps in 2 seconds because it's really fast, right? 10 miles, how far you can see? Probably like 100 miles just off like a couple seconds, right? And I think it's very fast. And the Prophet ﷺ actually used al-Buraq to go all the way to Jerusalem, right? On Bayt al-Maqdis. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said that it was a physical creature. It's a physical creature, right? And it had a harness and a saddle on it. And Jibril was holding onto the harness when the Prophet ﷺ stepped onto the Buraq. He stepped onto it when he was holding the harness. And the Buraq actually neighed. It jumped and neighed. It neighed when the Prophet ﷺ sat on it. Like, how can the Buraq do this? Jibril yanked Buraq and said, how dare you do this? For wallahi, no one has ridden you that is more blessed in the eyes of Allah than your current rider. This shows us that Buraq has been ridden by other creations. So this hinted that other creations actually had rode the Buraq, has ridden him. We don't know. This is ilm al-ghaib. We do not know what other creatures have rode him. But that's so amazing to think, what else could have rode al-Buraq? But we know that this is the most blessed of all the riders it's had, right? Now, we know that there's a lot of created things outside of our knowledge that we don't even know of. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the jinn have jinn animals, for example. We can't even fathom it. We can't even think about it, right? And there's so much we don't know. The Prophet ﷺ said he rode him and it took me until we went to Bayt al-Maqdis, all the way in Jerusalem. And I also want to point out and say that in this lecture, in Isra and Mi'raj, it's very interesting because if you ever have those Seerah quizzes and trivias with your friend, like try to quiz them on things, you can come up with a lot of quizzes from this. You can ask so many like quiz questions. How old was the Prophet when this happened? What was the animal's name? How big was it? What was the color? It's pure white, right? And all these questions. Now, at this time, there was no mosque. At this time, there was no mosque, temple, or synagogue. So he tied al-Buraq to an animal post used by the prophets. He tied it to a little animal post, and which means that the other prophets that prayed there had a post that they tied their animals to as well. And this post cannot be seen by regular men. Now, a little joke that you could say is that when we go to the masjids, we see imam parking, and they have their designated spots. In the same way that the posts were there for all the al-Buraqs to get tied by the Bayt al-Maqdis, they had their own imam parking. This is only a joke. But let's talk about Bayt al-Maqdis now. Yeah, let's talk about Bayt al-Maqdis now. So he went inside and he prayed 2 rakat. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our beloved creation, went inside and prayed 2 rakat, right? Now he said that I saw myself with the other prophets, and there was Musa praying. And some descriptions about Musa was that he was tall and strong, and he was a muscular man of brownish color. He was big. And it was as if he is a man for the tribe of Shanua. Now, how big were the people of Shanua? We don't know that stuff. We don't know what they look like anymore. The people back then knew, but we don't know anymore, right? Then Isa ibn Maryam is standing there praying as well. And the one who looks most like Isa, peace be upon him, that the Prophet said was Urwa ibn Masura Taqafi. He looks the most like Isa. And this is a Sahaba which we don't know what he looked like, but they knew when he was describing this. And we don't know what he looks like, but for the Sahaba it makes sense again. So Musa was of whitish color, and his hair glistened with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. So again, thank you guys for, there's been so many breaks throughout this lecture, yesterday and today, because we break for Maghrib. We started doing this during Maghrib time, this is what happens. So there's going to be a lot of different clips, and again, inshallah, I will really try hard to make the quality a lot better on the next one. So what we just left off on just now was that we talked about the signs of the Day of Judgment, and we see Dajjal coming, and Yajuj and Majuj, and this is Isa saying during the trip on Al-Isra or Al-Mi'raj, and this one was specifically Al-Mi'raj, the going up, and Isra was to Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem, right? And then the Prophet says that Isa says we find this in the Quran. The Prophet says to Isa, we find this in the Quran. Get it, you see below. This conversation says it's been preserved. About the other conversations, it's all ilm al-ghaib. It's all a gift to us. So we see that in the first heaven, who did we have? In the first heaven we had Adam alayhi salam, of course, and first heaven we have Adam alayhi salam. Second we have Yahya and Isa. Third we have Yusuf alayhi salam. Fourth we have Idris. Fifth Harun. Sixth Musa alayhi salam. Seventh Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now this order, there's a reason for this ordering. I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't do my due diligence to check. Inshallah, there's many resources online to find that out as well. So that's a little bit about that. Next, I want to tell you guys that Jannah is actually barren. So Jannah is barren. I'm not gonna So I'll speak about this now. Sorry, all my recordings got cut up a bit. I'll talk about it later in the future recordings as well, right? So Jannah is barren. So the Prophet said he met Ibrahim that night, and when he went to Isra, Ibrahim told Muhammad to give my salams to your ummah. Ibrahim said this to the Prophet, give my salams to your ummah. And he told us to inform our ummah that Jannah's soil is beautiful and luscious, but Jannah is barren. It's beautiful, luscious, but it's barren. This flat land with no trees, right? And Ibrahim says that the trees, how will the trees come? The trees will come from everyone saying Subhanallah, La ilaha illallah, Alhamdulillah, and Allahu Akbar. So when you give your dhikr, the trees will come. So you basically need to plant your own trees, right? So right now we just broke for Maghrib, and who did their dhikr after the prayer? You're planting trees in Jannah. So every single dhikr you do becomes a tree as well. So another story, and these all just, there isn't this chronological order to this. There's many stories that we got, because this was again a gift to the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was a gift to him. We're lucky to even know about it, right? It was a specific personal gift to him. So the meeting of the angel Malik, right? So we see that the meeting with the angel Malik, and also Malik is not Malik al-Maut. Malik al-Maut is the one who comes and takes your soul, right? The angel of death. But we're talking about Malik. Malik is the one who is the gatekeeper of Jahannam. And ever since he's been created, he came to the Prophet, right? And Jibreel said to the Prophet, give your salam to Malik. So Jibreel told the Prophet, give your salam to Malik, right? But Malik was the first to end up greeting him. So Malik greeted him first. Why? Because he was walking to him. He was the one who greeted first. That's how it is. And then the Prophet gave back the salam, right? And Angel Malik is only mentioned once in the Quran. It's only mentioned once. And it's said, "Oh Malik, go tell your Lord to exterminate us." And the people of Hellfire are telling us that Malik, right? And rewording it a little bit, it says, "Go tell your Lord to just get rid of us. That's all we want. All we want is to get... The Hellfire is too bad. The punishment is bad." He's the gatekeeper of Jahannam. Now, when he came up to the Prophet, he did not smile at all. He did not smile at all. He seemed completely sad. All the other angels were probably smiling. And the Prophet asked Jibreel, "Why is he like this?" So Jibreel responded saying that he has never smiled or laughed since he's been created. Were he to have smiled for anybody, it would have been you. He hasn't smiled once since he's been created. But if you were to have smiled for anybody, it would have been the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, we always see the story, like, on TikTok, we go and we see, like, how scary is Hellfire. It says, Malik never smiled since the beginning of time. This is a real thing. But a lot of people don't know that. It was also, if you were to have smiled for anybody, it would have been for the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Now, next I want to talk about Sidrat al-Muntaha, right? Sidrat al-Muntaha is a very big concept in the Isra al-Miraj, right? So when he proceeded up, he saw the Sidrat al-Muntaha. And the Prophet said that the fruits were as large as the water jars of Hajar. Do we know how big the water jars of Hajar are today? We do not. That's knowledge that we don't have. But the Sahaba knew this, actually. And its leaves are like the ears of the elephants. So the leaves are as big as the ears of the elephants. And its fruits are like this water jars of Hajar. And it's not authentically reported that the Prophet ever saw an elephant. But it's interesting that he narrated it this way. So he knew about elephants. But he never seen an elephant, right? Now Jibreel goes up to him. Now Jibreel goes up with him. So they keep going up. And the Prophet sees that there were colors on the tree that we didn't know what the colors were. So we're seeing colors on the tree. And the colors are... When I tell you to think of a color, you're not able to think of a new color. You can't. The Prophet couldn't explain us these colors. It's such new colors to him. The colors are so new that you can't even explain it. There's different light patterns hitting it. Like when I give dawah, I like to always tell people, think of a color. Just any color. They can't think of any. Like, can you think of a color? You can't think of a color because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you limited. You're limited. You're programmed limited. You're not supposed to know every little thing. Why is Allah this? Why is this? Why is that? You're not supposed to know every single little thing. Just know that you've been programmed limited. Now, if I tell you to think of a new emotion, come up with a new emotion. Can you come up with a new emotion that has been found? No, not possible. Because you've been created limited. You're limited. But the Prophet subhanAllah is seeing colors on this tree that it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? And the tree isn't a static tree. It's a dynamic tree which always changes color, right? So the tree is changing color completely. It just keeps changing and changing and changing and changing color, right? It's not static. It doesn't stay still. The tree just changing colors. And there's golden butterflies flying around the tree as well. So the fruits are the size of the jars of Hajar. The leaves are the size of elephant ears. The tree is not static. It's dynamic. It keeps changing colors. And then we also see that there's golden butterflies around it. Beautiful golden butterflies, right? Now, everything Allah wants to send down, it gets brought down. It starts from the Siddat al-Muntaha. And anything that goes up and is raised up, it goes past the Siddat al-Muntaha, right? And the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ did not go beyond that, nor did they go astray. Now the tree, again, it's not a static tree. The trunk of the tree begins in the 6th sama, the 6th 7. The trunk begins in the 6th, but its branches finish all the way in the 7th sama. So it goes all the way to the 7th, and that's when it finishes. And at the base of the Siddha, this is very interesting. So at the base of the Siddhatul Muntaha, there are 4 rivers coming down, right? So there's 4 rivers, and 2 of them, we don't know what the rivers are. 2 are hidden, and 2 of them are open. So 2 rivers are completely hidden, and 2 rivers are open. Now, he asked Jibreel, so Islam asked Jibreel, what are these rivers? What are these rivers over here? And Jibreel said, the hidden ones are in Jannah. You can't see them. As for the other 2, what are the other 2 rivers? So only upper body. Ready? It's only upper body.
What?
It's only upper body. There you go. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. I'm sorry, you guys. I pushed a little bit into Maghrib time. Forgive me for that. But I want to also point out that, remind you that Jannah is luscious and beautiful, but it's barren. And the way we make trees grow is by dhikr. So I hope after your prayer just now, you all made a lot of dhikr. So I skipped into a part. I skipped a little part. The Prophet ﷺ actually saw into Jannah as well before he saw into hellfire. He saw into Jannah, right? So he entered into Jannah and saw tents made of pearls and soil. And the soil was made out of the tents were made out of pearls, and the soil was made out of musk, which is the most expensive perfume. And no one has entered Jannah after Adam. So a lot of people think, oh, what about the shaheeds? What about the shaheeds? So the shaheeds, they're not living in Jannah. They're flying around in Jannah, and they're not in their body. They're in the body of a green bird, and they're hanging from the chandeliers of Jannah. They're not living in Jannah. They're not living. They're around Jannah, but not living in Jannah. Right? The shaheeds. They're close, but not really in there. Right? So the first person to enter Jannah after Adam is our Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many opinions say that he saw Jannah, but he did not enter, because it would make sense, because he did not enter hellfire. He saw hellfire, and he's seen the punishments in hellfire. Now, this lecture for Isra wal Miraj, it goes for like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. You can talk about it. I'm breaking it down to you guys in 50 minutes. So hopefully you guys, I'm not going too fast. If I am going fast, at the end, feel free to ask me questions. I'm almost done, inshallah. So he saw many people getting punished in hell, and he saw people that had noses like camels, and they're eating coals made of fire, and they'll swallow it, and the fire will come out from their backs, right behinds, right? Now that's the punishment of the people who stole orphans' money. That's your punishment. If you steal orphans' money, that's your punishment. Now Prophet ﷺ asked Jibreel, he's seen people who had nails of copper, and they're scratching their bodies and their faces. They wouldn't stop scratching their bodies and their faces, and these are the people who used to backbite. You're scarring your flesh, your honor, and your prestige. You're scarring yourself. These are people who backbite. In today's age, a lot of people backbite. So then he saw people who had pure meat in front of them, and they also have raw and infested meat in front of them as well. And they're eating the raw and infested meat. And these were the people who used to fornicate. They would leave the halal and go for the haram from their spouses. Now next was people with large bellies. They couldn't stand up, and they're just sitting down. They couldn't stand up, large fat bellies, and the animals will be trampling on them. Now, these are the people who would get their money from riba. So when you get your money from riba, that's the punishment. Now, it makes sense, because back then when you were very wealthy, you had a lot of animals. You're getting trampled by your animals. Now, there are also people he's seen people that were cutting their own lips and tongue with scissors of copper and scissors of punishment and scissors of fire, right? Cutting their own tongues and lips. And those were the people who tell others to do good, but would forget to do good themselves. They're always telling people, do this. Oh, brother, pray, and go home just not praying, like that kind of stuff, right? Now, he also saw Dajjal. He saw the Dajjal, right? So, one of his eyes were very bloated. In another hadith, he said that the left eye, the left one, is like a rotten grape. It's bloated and it's not normal. It's like a rotten grape, right? And we should know that the Dajjal is one eye. He only has one eye. Remember, there's kafir written on his forehead. We should know this. If the time comes in our generation, just know that his left eye is like a grape, bloated. Now, he's seen the heaven, he's seen the Jannah, not the heaven and Jannah are different. He's seen Jannah and he's seen the fire, he's seen the punishments. Next, after all that, and the meeting with Allah, not the meeting, we'll get to that again, sorry I said that 3 times. He goes back to Jerusalem, so he's going his way back to Jerusalem, right, with Jibreel, because he's going down. This is Mi'raj. Isra was going to Jerusalem, the one-day trip, which normally would take a month. And one night, and the Miraj is the Ascension. So he went back to Jerusalem to ride, and he rode the Buraq back to Mecca, right? So he got the Buraq off his post and went back to Mecca. When he woke up, he himself, he told us this story, by the way. He's the one who told us it. He woke up and he felt anxiety. How is he about to tell everyone about what just happened? Because he's been ordered by Allah. He must have been ordered by Allah to tell everybody, because he's anxious. How's he going to tell everybody? The Prophet Rasulullah can't do anything unless somebody, Allah told him, commanded him, right? Now, this shows his humanity, how anxious it shows his humanity. SubhanAllah, he's human just like us. He was sitting in front of the Kaaba, anxious, nervous, and worried. The enemy of Allah, Abu Jahl, saw Muhammad in the state, and he said to him, Abu Jahl, the Fir'aun of Muhammad Ummah, the Fir'aun, he said, what is the matter with you? What is the matter with you? And has something happened? The Prophet said, yes, something happened. Last night I was taken from here to Jerusalem. And Abu Jahl was shocked and didn't know if he should reject him now, like make fun of him now, reject him, or call a crowd and hear him say it, right? So, and Abu Jahl said, if I called the Quraysh, would you tell them exactly what you have just told me? Would you tell them what you just told me, that you just went to Jerusalem in one night? It's crazy. Because you're trying to embarrass him, right? He's trying to rebuke him. So he starts, and he says, yes, I will. So he yells and is calling out to Quraysh, and he's making announcements. So the Prophet ﷺ told all the Quraysh the issue, right? All of them, where he tells them the issue of the Isra, right? And he told them about Isra. He didn't tell them about the Mi'raj, going up into Jannah, or going all the way up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told them about Isra, to go to one night to Jerusalem. So he said he went last night to pray in the Bayt al-Maqdis, and he prayed in Masjid Aqsa. Now some people started clapping, not knowing what to do. There's so many reactions to clapping, like what's going on, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's clapping, not knowing what to do. Others put their hands on their head in astonishment. Others put him to the test and asking him questions about Bayt al-Maqdis. So asking very immersive questions about Bayt al-Maqdis, right? And they started asking about specifics of Bayt al-Maqdis, which he doesn't remember. He's human, just like he doesn't remember. He was there for one night. He wasn't there for a whole vacation. They're asking very specific parts about everything, right? And he got confused with all those questions. He got so worried and anxious and terrified, he wasn't able to answer. And that he was never been so terrified before. That's what he said. He was so terrified. He didn't know how to answer these questions. Like, man, I have to say this. How are they even going to believe me? What is this? They're not going to believe me. So he was so terrified. As they were asking the questions, he saw Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis. He saw it rising in front of him. The Prophet is a miracle. He saw Bayt al-Maqdis rising in front of him. And it's descending. It's rising. It's from Jerusalem. Jerusalem is rising. And it's descending above the house he grew up in. Samawat, or not the 7 Samawat. He goes up, and the Jannah is at the 7th. And he goes up to all of them. Right? He keeps going up. The first heaven was Adam, second was Yahya and Isa, third was Yusuf, fourth was Idris, fifth was Harun, sixth was Musa, seventh was Ibrahim. 70,000 angels go around the Bayt al-Ma'mur every single day. Also, 70,000 is a significant number. It's actually kind of interesting, because we know what the hellfire will brought on the Day of Judgment is going to be held by 70,000 chains. And on every single chain, there will be 70,000 angels. Significant. Why is it 70,000? Something to just think about. So, the seventh is Ibrahim alayhi. And then he talks about the Day of Judgment, and he talks about the signs of the Day of Judgment, Yajuj, Majuj, and all the Dajjal and all this. And then we know that Jannah is barren, and we have to do our dhikr for a lot of the trees to grow. We knew that the fruits are the size of the jugs of Hajr, and we know that the leaves are the size of elephants, and the tree is not static. It's changing color completely all the time. And there's colors that we can't even fathom or imagine. You can't even imagine it. You can't even imagine it. So, the meeting with Malik, the angel, and how he's never smiled. We talk about Sidratul al-Muntaha and how everything goes up to it and everything goes down from it. Sidratul al-Muntaha, right? Really big, and it starts in this trunk, begins in the 6th heaven, and it reaches the 7th heaven. And we know there's 4 rivers. 2 of them are hidden, and 2 are open. And its name is Al-Kawthar and Al-Salsabil. And it's the Nile River and the Euphrates River. Insane. That's crazy, right? So, and then we know Jibril's original form, 600 wings. Pearls and corals dripping from it. And we know Muhammad Sallallahu had 3 gifts. The Salat, the ending of Surah Baqarah, which we always say, and also the Ummah worships Allah without shirk, they'll all be forgiven. And the 50 Salah, we know all the 50 Salah that came down. We know how it got down to 5. The 5 benefit, the 5 Salah we have today is the benefit, it gives us the reward of 50. And we know the beautiful fragrance which came from the lady who was combing Fir'aun's daughter, and that's the fragrance of Jannah. We saw into Jannah, and we see a lot of beautiful things. We know the shaheeds are flying around Jannah. And we saw many punishments of hellfire. We've seen the punishment of the one who stole orphans' money, the one who had nails of copper scratching their bodies, the people who had pure meat in front of them and would eat the rotten and infested meat in front of them instead. We saw the people with large bellies, they couldn't stand up, and the animals would trample over them. We saw people cutting their own lips and tongue with scissors of copper and punishment and fire. We also saw the Dajjal, one of his eyes is bloated, and it says that his left eye is rotten like a grape. It's bloated and it's not normal. And we should know that the Dajjal is one-eyed. And then when he went back to Jerusalem, he seen Abu Jahl, and Abu Jahl was still trying to play his little games with him. It's Abu Jahl. Like, he's dead now. We talked about that. We're going to get into the Battle of Badr soon. It's very interesting. We'll get into it. This is the last Seerah lecture of the quarter. Inshallah, we've been doing well. Me, Yunus, and Yusuf. Inshallah, we've been doing well. This is the last Seerah lecture of the quarter. Next quarter, I believe we're starting into the migration to Medina, and we're going to talk about Battle of Badr and stuff. The news reached Abu Bakr, and this is when he became Abu Bakr Siddiq. Name your children Abu Bakr. It's a beautiful name. Isa. But so we have the clarifications where he did not see Allah, he seen the light. We said Islam Miraj was in wakefulness, and we see that Bayt al-Maqdis is the final battle between good and evil, between the Dajjal and Isa. The fake benefits is we ask permission between entering doors. We respond with our names when someone asks. When we're walking, the one says salam, the one who's walking says salam, and it's encouraged to give glad tidings and good news to those who are worthy of receiving it. It is permissible to give advice that will bring about good for the people, and it's completely permissible to have your back facing the Qibla while you sit. Night traveling is preferred to day traveling, and Allah makes the distance easier to go by at night. The other day I went back to the Bay Area. I went, and when I was traveling at night, it was way quicker. Like, I got there so fast. But when I came back yesterday, I was on the road for like 10 hours, right? Like, honestly, Allah SWT gives barakah in the night traveling. That's all I have. I know I covered a lot of material. There's a lot. Do any of you have any questions? No? All right, inshallah, that's it. The next Seerah lecture is going to be the beginning of next quarter, and it's going to be led by, I think it's either me, Yusuf, or Yunus. I don't remember. Inshallah. Oh, man, my leg.